Hi, I'm Jocelyn. Welcome to or back to my channel. Today's video is my spin on the traditional back to school supply haul. Since my school has decided to go back virtually in a few weeks, I didn't do much of your typical back to school shopping other than just going into my mom's closet and getting some of the supplies that she got extras of last year. So this video is just a comprehensive list of all of my must-haves and top supplies that I always get every year and constantly use. My first basic is paper. So since we are going back digitally, I'm not quite sure how much paper we're going to use. But I wanted to be prepared in case we are using some paper, having to take some notes. So I got just a regular notebook. Hopefully it will be enough to get me through. If not, I do have some other just regular packs of paper that I can fill a binder with in the future if I need to. Also, last year I found this dot grid notebook and I used it for taking notes. And since last year I got 2 of them, I do have another one that I will be able to use for this year, and I'm very excited about it because it was a really nice way for me to take my own notes after a lesson, just a way to review. Taking notes after a lesson is how I like to review the content, and I liked having the dot grid. It was nice because I was able to draw diagrams and stuff. However, this year when we went to Walmart, I did find this quad notebook. So it is, it's full of graph paper, and I thought that was really interesting. So to be extra prepared, I do have a Mead binder. However, I have had these binders for about 2 or 3 years. I've used them for a while. They are a lot sturdier than the regular binders, so when we got them a few years back, we got them knowing that I would be using them throughout probably all of high school. My plan is to just use one. I have one that is a 2-inch binder, and that's the one that I used for math last year. So I hope to just take the tabs that come in the binders and section off the classes that way. Next up are pencils. I have had this pack of pencils for probably 3 years. They are just your regular Bic pencils, however they are 0.5 lead. For the longest time I used 0.9 consistently, but it smudged very heavily, and 0.7 is your typical lead, and that's fine too, but I found that I prefer 0.5. Next are pens, specifically black pens. I typically write in pen as opposed to pencil. I really only use pencil for math classes, but I use pen all the time. So I'm constantly using a black pen or even colored pens depending on what I'm working on. I typically don't turn in assignments in colored pens, but if it's just like guided notes or my own notes, I will use colored pen. But for black pens, my favorite pen period is the Sarasa Clip pen. I typically don't use the black one for my notes. I use that for my bullet journal, but for notes I do use the Pilot G2 pens, and I've also used the Papermate Ink Joy gel pens. Both of these are great options. They write very smoothly, a lot of ink in the pen. For colored pens, I do have a little bit more variety. When I write out the notes that I take after a lesson, I will use the Stabilo .88 pens for like my headers and section titles, but I don't use these for just regular writing because they have a felt tip and it will wear down over time. But I will use the Sarasa Clip pens because these are just regular gel pens and they write really well. Also, my favorite red pen is the Pilot G2 pen. I've had this one for a while. As you can see, it's running out of ink and I should probably replace it. But this is my favorite red pen when I'm taking like practice quizzes and tests. I will use this to grade myself. This extras category, they're not really extras because they are still things that I use all the time every year. So the next item are highlighters. I use the Zebra mild liners primarily in my bullet journal. I will use them for notes and for school related purposes occasionally, but I typically only use it in my bullet journal, and I have a few of the Stabilo Boss highlighters that I use, but these are a little bit inkier and they will bleed through occasionally, so you have to be careful with that. The regular Sharpie and Papermate highlighters, those work great as well, and I use those also. Next are flashcards, and I use dot grid flashcards. Typically you see ruled and unruled, but at Walmart these past few years I have found the dot grid ones, and I love everything dot grid because that's what my bullet journal is what the system I'm used to using. And these were really great because you can also, it's easy to draw diagrams on them versus like your unruled. But I also have found these graph ruled ones. So these are great also for math and science classes, especially for math when you're like drawing out a graph and you're, let's say, drawing a parabola and describing what the equation for that graph will be. These are great for that as well. I also have a note card holder. This next one is like the top necessity, and that is whiteout. I have for years, this is the only whiteout that I've ever known, is the liquid whiteout with the brush, and you just brush over whatever your mistake is, you wait for it to dry, and then you write over it. But this year, my mom found these, and it is like a kind of like the rolling tape, but it's whiteout. So hopefully I'll be able to get good use out of this, and I won't have to deal with the drying process of the liquid whiteout. My last must-have is a way to keep yourself organized, whether that is through a bullet journal or a planner. In the past, I have used both, and both have served me well. I typically gravitate more towards my bullet journal because I use a bullet journal every day, but if a student planner is more your speed, then I highly recommend getting one of those. In the past, I have used the Erin Condren as well as the Happy Planners, and I loved both of those. That concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did find it helpful, don't forget to give it a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on your notifications to get notified every time I upload a new video. I'll see you next time. Bye!